Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome to AstroLunaChick's Guide to the Universe with your host, Susan, aka AstroLunaChick. And we're here to talk about what the hell is going on in the heavens and what is up your anus. I'm going to keep using that tagline until I get sick of it or I figure out another one. Anyway, I've always been a big proponent of it's Uranus, not your anus, but I thought it sounded cheeky. Anyway, so it's fun to look at astrology and try to figure out what the hell is up Uranus. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good week. I am recording this on Saturday, October 15th, and you'll probably be hearing it sometime after the 16th, as this will be probably uploaded on the 16th, Sunday. At any rate, I'm happy to be here with you. We're still here on planet Earth. The globe is still spinning. And unless you're a flat earther, then it's not spinning. I don't know what it's doing in your world. But anyway, it's always fun. It's fun to try on other people's belief systems. I can't really say that I believe anything other than what I've experienced, but I have tried on a lot of different beliefs and philosophies to say, what if this were true? Could I get my head around that? Does it have practical application in my life, in the world? Does it make sense? Does it contribute to harmony and growth on my own spiritual journey and perspective? I have talked about in the past couple of weeks as we were going through the retrograde, being able to look at things from other people's perspectives. And I think that that was a big part of the retrograde. And it struck me as being that a particular theme that would come up because I was experiencing it. And, knowing that obviously my perspective comes from, the things that I've gone through, I've experienced, right? And astrologically, my chart. So when I'm looking at something and I'm thinking, okay, this planetary configuration, transit, whatever, could be interpreted in a particular way, I realized that, my observations aren't necessarily other people's observations or their experience. And so I was really listening for sort of feedback. And then, we could argue that that's confirmation bias, that I was expecting to hear these things. And so therefore I did. But in my limited purview and perspective, and then limited to what I'm hearing, taking in information, what other people might be saying, obviously I'm limited to that. So, but I did hear it coming up in content because I'm a voracious consumer of content. I guess I tend to scan the collective in regard to what is being put out there in real time on the internet, in media. Just trying to get an idea of what other people are experiencing, what they're relating. So in that sense, I observe and report. And I have seen evidence of this. So now Mercury is still technically in shadow, and it will be for early part of the week. I think actually it leaves its shadow on Sunday, 16th. So when you're hearing this, that would be the last day of what is considered Mercury shadow. I've heard other astrologers say that they don't acknowledge shadow. I don't see how you can't. I just don't see how that practically makes sense, because the shadow portion of the degrees, the zodiac, are a fact. And if the planet is making aspects to someone's chart, then, in a retrograde, it's going to go forward, conjunction, let's say, or whatever, square, reverse, it's going to make that same configuration, and then forward again. So 3 times you're going to get a hit of whatever that planet is representing. So you're getting the first heads up, and then the second time around, it comes up again, and maybe there's some internal stuff to be dealt with, possibly. I'm seeing all kinds of rainbows on my I got my windows open. Oh well, we'll just pretend it's a filter. No filters, no filters. I hate filters. I mean that in terms of what I have to, what I have to say. I don't like to filter myself. I like filters, actually. Photo filters. Okay, so yeah, still in shadow on the 16th. So let's start with Sunday. Oh, before I do that, let's have some station identification and shameless plugging for AstroLunaChick's Guide to the Universe, which can be found on YouTube and Spotify through Anchor. And you can find me on social media. I have a Facebook page, AstroLunaChick on Facebook. You can like that. I don't know if I'm getting my messages, because I keep getting this pop-up that says people are waiting for messages, waiting for me to hear back from me. Louisa_Hoffman, if you're not a bot, I'm really sorry. You should email me. The best way to find me, if you really want to contact me, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. But if you want to contact me for a reading, the best way to do that is astrolunachick@gmail.com, so that I don't miss your messages when Facebook is trying to troll me and tell me I have messages, but I don't. Weirdness. I mean, maybe that'll go away when Mercury leaves its shadow and I can prove my point, or my hypothesis that shadow is a real thing. Anywho, I stand beside my shadow. That's kind of funny, huh? I stand by my theory of shadow because I've seen it work. I've seen the transits to it. I've seen the degrees. I've seen what happens when the planet is forward, and then I've seen what happens again when it goes backward. It's a real thing. That's why I call astrology an observational science. because I've observed it. Okay, so moving right along. Am I done plugging myself? Oh yeah, etalk.tv. I am on etalk.tv Sunday mornings. It's 10 o'clock on the West Coast, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and then interspersed throughout the week, you can listen to me. But I suggest that you go over and check it out anyway. I don't have a page yet on there because actually I don't think I've submitted my photo and bio yet. I was waiting for Mercury direct to do that. So yeah, hashtag goals. I'm gonna get that done. Yes, but go over and check out etalk.tv and see what's up there. There's a lot of cool shows if you like paranormal, spiritual, UFOs and ETs and all that kind of stuff. Fringy type topics like the like of astrology and all kinds of stuff. So go check it out. Yeah, and we'll be having a marathon weekend of the 22nd, 23rd weekend before Halloween, where I will be broadcasting live. So go check it out so that you'll be ready and you know what to expect when I'm doing my live show, because I'm probably going to be doing call-in readings. So get yourself over there. And let's see what else. I have an anchor link somewhere on my timeline. I'll try to remember to tweet it out again, but nobody's leaving me messages. I started out really good. I got 2 messages the first time I did it. But if you want to leave a message, ask a question, leave a comment, and you can find that on my timeline. Trying to correct the rainbow. Trying to correct the rainbow prism. Yeah, I think I like it. I think I'll leave it. All right, time to screen share. If you're listening to me on audio, you won't be able to see the graphics, but if it sounds interesting and you like to see what it looks like on screen. Oh shit. Ooh. Am I recording? I don't remember if I'm recording or not. Yay, I'm recording. Okay, so like I was saying, if you are just listening to the audio of the show, you might want to go and check out on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, AstroLunaChick. I post my weekly reports as videos there, and I do share the screen. So if you want to see what the chart looks like, you can go and check it out. And I highly suggest that you do so. And when you do so, please like my channel. And you can click the little bell there so you get a notification of when I post my new videos. And with that said, I think I covered everything as far as promotion. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Every eclipse season and Mercury retrograde too, but we're done with that. But for the eclipses coming up, I do run a special. It's $50 special. I just look at the eclipses and where they are in your chart to give you a general idea of the themes that are happening for you based on your chart with the eclipses. And if you're interested in that, please go ahead and email me at astrolunachick@gmail.com. So I could do those by phone. I could do Zoom. I can do an email reading if you like, or I can do a recorded video where I can even upload it to YouTube, and it'll just be private, just for you, unless you want to share the link. So there's that option, but email me and I will send you my booking information. Okay, let's get into it. I don't want to just been trying to be more succinct in my delivery of this stuff here and not be so blah-diddy-blah. Alrighty. Okay, so let us begin with Monday, October 17th, which is a 6-day, 10/17/2022, reduces to a 6. And as you'll see on the screen here, or you won't, so I'll just tell you, the moon on Monday, not a new moon on Monday, but the moon on Monday, is in Cancer. And the big aspects of that day include the moon squaring Venus and the sun, which are in Libra at 24 and 25 degrees of Libra, and opposing Pluto. It's a very strong configuration. We are in a waning moon, so rather than a building energy, we're experiencing a dissipating energy, because the waning moon is ending things. And with Pluto squaring to the sun and Venus, this is a definite ending in some ways. Can be very emotional with the moon in Cancer. Opposite Pluto, I mean, Pluto is quite a heavy hitter, and it just went direct last week. So it's still kind of in that very strong stationary direct energy. And Pluto is death and rebirth, it's transformation, it's the deep, dark depths of the psyche, because it rules Scorpio. Okay. So we're talking about very deep themes in society, being in Capricorn, right? Societal themes and governmental structures and certain endings, an ending to an era, an epoch in particular that we're all living through right now. And the T-square, which it is the moon opposite Pluto with Sun and Venus at the fulcrum. Sun having to do with our identity, our ego. It can be leaders, people in positions of power. And, you know, the sun does shine light. It does illuminate, right? And we're talking about Venus, which is the ruler of Libra. So Venus is talking about the relational aspect between ourselves and other people, and power, our relationship to power, power dynamics, the individual, and fairness, balance, justice, right? Because that's Libra. And leaders, we're talking about leaders, possibly females, because it's Venus, and Venus does represent females, but the sun and the solar aspect has to do with masculine. So a lot of different things can come up here. The moon being in Cancer is, you know, emotional security, family roots, family dynamics. I mean, we're really looking at, in the axis of Cancer, Capricorn, the mother and father dynamic, You know, we're looking at the home, the family of origin, lineage, and then the opposite, which is, you know, the home base, going from the home base out to into the world and achieving and making something of yourself, right? Ambition, success. So a lot of complicated things going on that day. Could feel very heavy. We could see the passing of a leader, or we could see possibly some kind of male-female power dynamics, or even females stepping more into a powerful leadership position. Something that we could see. It could be financial. You know, we've been seeing the stock market melt down like every single week and saying, is this it? Is this big one? You know, and feeling like, you know, these might be sort of like the precursors to the big one. What would they call those? They're not aftershocks, pre-shocks. I don't know. So this could be something financial, relational, governmental, power dynamics. Now, all week, the Sun and Venus are going to be traveling together until they reach almost the end of Libra, and make an exact conjunction. I think it's at 27 degrees of Libra. So listen, I mean, if you have any planets, and check your chart, because this is definitely impactful. Look and see if you have planets or points, or like the angles, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, at those degrees, the late degrees of cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, because that'll affect you directly. Otherwise, you know, if you don't have planets or anything at those degrees, late degrees of any sign, you know, this just could be something that you're observing or that's peripheral to you. But I think Monday could be a very heavy, somber, impactful day, possibly. And we are also, because that is the square from the sun and the moon, that's called the last quarter square, when the moon is waning. Last quarter square indicates something that we've been working on all through the moon cycle, from the new moon to the first quarter square. It's more or less internal and not necessarily externalizing or taking action until the full moon, when the situation, relationship, whatever it is, the idea that's being birthed at the new moon comes to actualization. And then in the last quarter square, we're talking about, if we haven't acted already, we might feel like, you know, really prompted and pressured to act, because squares do create a friction where we have to confront something, we have to take some kind of action, or something is, you know, we're either acting or being acted upon. So this could be a major crisis for somebody, personal or you know, public. Anyway, what else do we have going on? We have the moon is trining to Neptune on that day. So there could be, you know, some kind of it could be an illusion, it could be the exposure of something that was an illusion, something that we were led to believe in, It could be a crisis of faith, crisis in the sense that we believed things were a certain way, and turns out it wasn't quite that way at all. And there is a tendency with Pisces and Neptune being very strong there as the ruler of Pisces to project onto other people, or feel like we've been taken advantage of, and kind of um, being in the role of victim, looking at ourselves as being a victim, possibly being victimized. Either way, I think it'll be quite emotional. So moving on to, well, let me just scan what else is going. Well, we still have Mars. Okay, so Mars is squaring to Neptune also, and you know that's been a little bit weird because some of it we don't know what to make of the things that are being said and the actions that are being taken. Can it be that our heartstrings are being tugged on, that our sympathies are being appealed to? Are we being manipulated on an emotional level? Quite likely. That looks like definitely something that could be coming out of this. And just in a general sense, because it has been going on all of last week, and it'll be mostly, I mean, it's within orb, and it was last week and it will be this week too, this Mars square to Neptune. Watch with the driving, watch with the substances, unintended consequences of our actions. Um, on the one side, on the other side, we could be divinely guided and inspired to acting on faith, acting on intuition. That's Pisces, that's Neptune. But if um, if we are being deceived or manipulated in any way, this could be exposing that on the 17th. 17th is a big day. All right, so going on to, and don't forget, I talked about this last week in part 2 of with the asteroids. The moon is out of bounds. All right, it's out of bounds. It has been all weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's just starting to normalize, not even normalize, starting to descend in declination. As you can see right here on the screen, it was at like 27 north. Now by Monday, it's at 26. Tuesday, it comes down to 24, 23, 24. So things are starting to calm down. But there was this big amp up, push, build up of energy that happened last week and this week too, that I think Monday will be some sort of a blowing off of some kind of steam. We'll see what happens. All right, so Tuesday is 18th. We're at a 7. Moon is in Leo. It makes nice aspects. By nice, I mean harmonious, supportive aspects to Jupiter and Mercury. Trine to Jupiter as soon as it goes into Leo from Cancer, and a sextile to Mercury. So since last week when Mercury opposed Jupiter, I think there was a real sense of personal justice, fairness, balance, wanting to expand who we are, being more clear about who we are, what our purpose is, what our beliefs are that we stand for. Because Mercury was able to process a lot during the retrograde and probably dealt with a lot of confrontation of what we did not want, and having to confront what, what we are not, or maybe old habits and patterns that represented a person that we are no longer. And so our personal truth, our identity, and being secure in that, we've been working on that. And our communication, how we express ourselves, how we present ourselves to other people in a more balanced way, trying to be more harmonious and diplomatic in our speech and the way we deal with people, all of that. So the moon being in Leo and trining Jupiter perhaps gives us a better sense of, feeling good about ourselves, wanting to bring more lightheartedness and heart-centered playing, more childlike, um, gravitating more to the things that make us feel loved, or feel are more in alignment with ourselves and our creativity that we want to bring out to the world. And doing that hopefully through our ideas and communication and sharing, and really gravitating more towards people and situations that align with our beliefs. Jupiter in Aries, personal, right? And things that make us feel on an emotional level like we are being, you know, admired, and that we're able to share our creative gifts, which are our children. So our projects, our art, our creativity, or whatever we bring out from our heart, from the heart space. So it's a good day probably for communication. I think that should go well. It just feels more balanced, hopefully, reaching some kind of balance within ourselves so that we can approach situations and other people from a more balanced perspective. And what else we got going on? The moon makes a trine to Chiron. Chiron has been healing the inner child, the sense of identity, the individual, the right to exist, to be who we are, and fighting for that, because Aries is a warrior. So Tuesday doesn't feel like, it feels like a pretty positive, optimistic day. Perhaps we're able to share with others from a more healed place with that Chiron and Aries. And there could be, focus more on looking more specifically at men and masculine characteristics, perhaps. Leo is a fire sign, and so is Aries, and Aries being ruled by Mars, masculine energy, which we all have. We have our yin and we have our yang, so it doesn't necessarily mean masculine in a physical body. This can be feeling a little bit more able to balance our masculine and feminine, our creative, sensitive, nurturing side, our intuition, our connection to spirit, has to do with the heart, because the more open your heart is, your feelings center, the stronger we can connect with other people, connect with spirit, connect with God. So, that's it. I think that's all I want to say about that day. So Venus and the sun are moving closer, as you can see or can't see. Venus is at 25 and the sun is at 26 of Libra. Now, we do have a very fortunate star here. That's the star Spica. It is one of the most important fixed stars in ancient astrology. It's very benefic. And it does, I guess I'll go more into it in part 2, but it does speak about public honor and achievement, leadership, as a very benevolent star. So, we could be seeing some accolades being given to a leader, specifically a female leader. It's hard for me to think of how this could play out when it is such a strong aspect squaring to Pluto. I can't help but think that there could be a public figure, female, that passes or is engaged in some kind of power struggle here against the establishment, perhaps, or stepping in and stepping up and taking her own power. Interesting to see how this plays out. But it definitely does speak of an ending of a certain type of relationship, a certain type of dynamic. Because as Pluto finishes out its last 4 degrees in Capricorn, this is demolishing the old structure. We're going from one era to another, and the way we think about power is changing. So keep that in mind. What other aspects we got later on this day? I think it would really be overnight from the 18th into the 19th. We're going to have the moon square the nodes of fate at 14 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. Now, the moon in Leo is squaring. So it's the moon, it's the public, it's the overarching mood, the collective mood. And Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio are all fixed signs. They're fixed, they're immovable. But what we have with the nodes, it's trying to make changes to an area of life that it's by its very nature tends to be stagnant on the lower side, but immovable, steady, fixed. It's not always a bad thing. Fixed is reliable, but there are things having to do with Taurus themes and Scorpio themes that need to be changed because we are building something new and releasing something old. So there's a tipping point here. It's an emotional thing, really only lasts maybe like half a day when you think about it. But the moon squaring the nodes is an emotional shift. So we had the moon squaring the sun, which was action and a shift in consciousness, events and actions. Perhaps this is part of us integrating whatever occurred on the 18th, Monday the 17th, Tuesday the 18th, and we're dealing with it more on an emotional level, perhaps, how we feel about this person whoever it is that is embodying this within our collective, which is why we like to look at, in astrology, we like to look at the charts of public figures, celebrities, because they publicly play out the effects of the planets. The correlation we can see between the astrology and what we see playing out on the stage, the world stage. So, this is interesting. All I could say is it's interesting. A few people come to mind, but I'm not going to get into those charts right now because I'm just doing the weekly stuff, and I swore that I would just stick to that. So the moon is squaring the nodes. There's a tipping point here. There's some kind of emotional release because we're in the waning phase, and it's really the realization that a change is here. The tipping point is here. There's actions being taken and there's no going back. We have to let go. But what we also have seen coming up with let's say the North Node, because it is ruled by Venus, and we're talking about the Sun and Venus being conjunct, we can be talking about resources. This could be market related. This could be physical resources, commodities, prices. What else? Well, squaring the South Node, that's debt, other people's money, other people's resources, death and rebirth. And the nodes of fate, the nodes of fate have to do with the cycling of energy. It isn't just a one-way projection. It is what is being built and what is being released. So that is a constant cycling of energy. With the nodes being in fixed signs, it's making it uncomfortable for people and situations that have relied on things staying the same because they're not moving with the changes, resisting. That can bring up issues. So whatever it is that we're hearing, it could be related to, there could also be scandals because the South Node in Scorpio has been dredging up the bodies from the lake. Literally, water levels going down have caused literal bodies, remains to be discovered. But in a metaphorical sense, this is also happening. So it's the skeletons in people's closets that are like forcing the truth forcing people to deal with the truth, the shadow, the things that we don't want to deal with, all of that great stuff. And the moon is also going to square Uranus, and Uranus is sudden, shocking, unexpected, suddenly and unexpected. Does that ring true for anybody? Think you know what I'm talking about? I don't have to spell it out. Sudden and unexpected. That's, Uranus. Taurus represents values. So certain things, certain events that are happening that are fated, that are shifting our values to focus on what's really important, perhaps. Anyway, enough of that. So Wednesday, that's Wednesday, and that's an 8 day. So we're almost to the 9. We have big endings, changes, transformations happening all day long. Mercury opposing Chiron. This could be painful news. This could be painful endings of relationships, partnerships, whether it's personal, professional, whether it's relationship patterns, that we've been looking at all through Libra season, with Venus going through Libra, could have really had us looking quite deeply at our relationships in the past, and maybe realizing that we have to do some more healing before we can go on to a new relationship, because our relationships mirror our shadow. They will bring out the things that we need to, that we're not aware of, that we need to heal. So perhaps, there is a realization where things are out of balance and trying to put things back into balance when it comes to our relationships, our self, our sense of identity and self-worth. Maybe it's the negative self-talk. Maybe we're realizing that because of our unconscious beliefs about ourselves, we keep running into people that reaffirm our unconscious beliefs until we make that conscious and shift our beliefs in some way or heal that part of ourselves. People are meant to be there as a trigger. And when we don't acknowledge 50% of whatever's going on within that dynamic, we're projecting all of our shit onto that other person. We're making them the boogeyman or the perpetrator, and we're the victim. And that's just not a healthy dynamic. So, taking some time to look at and self-reflect, look at our relationships and anything having to do with our perspective versus other people's perspective, the way we speak and communicate, the balance between me and the other person, and perspectives, that can be very helpful. Being diplomatic, being fair. I mean, it can go either way. It doesn't necessarily mean that, things are going to be like fair suddenly. It's an evaluation of what is fair, what is balanced, so that we can correct things. We can correct whatever imbalances are present. All right, Thursday. How am I doing on time? Pretty good. I'm trying to keep it down to an hour, talking about the weekly aspects. And then in my second half, talking about just the asteroids and whatever else deep woo-woo I choose to get into. Okay, so that's the 19th, Wednesday. Going on to Thursday, the 20th. This is the 9 day, 10/20/2022. Reduces to a 9. So there is some sort of ending happening here. There is an ending of the cycle of whatever that 9-day cycle was that started on the 1st. We can expect this. I look at the 9 as being a peak. With astrology and energy, we have cycles within cycles within cycles. So it's not a complete ending, but on some level, it is a peak. And then we have something new coming in. We take whatever we've gained from that 9-day cycle of energy and start something different the next day, hopefully. Armed with new knowledge and new wisdom. Okay, so on the 20th, we have the moon in Virgo. Again, it's waning moon, waning, dissipating. There's so much energy at the full moon. And then as the moon wanes, we're just coasting. We're just moving on the speed of whatever came before. Since the new moon, we do have an inconjunct to Jupiter. So there's some kind of truth, justice, belief, faith system, higher wisdom and knowledge being gained that we need to make some sort of an adjustment to. Perhaps in Virgo, we're receiving some kind of criticism that we have to face, or some details perhaps that were missed. Virgo moon is very analytical, very critical. We could be dealing with some kind of projection of shaming and blaming and scapegoating and making a big issue about something, or where we just feel something is unfair. There's not a whole lot of aspects going on that day. That's Thursday. Did I miss something here? I missed something here. I'm looking at my notes and something doesn't look right. All right, maybe overnight or early morning on Thursday. Yeah, that's what it was. The moon is going to make a sextile to this Venus Sun conjunction almost at the end of Libra. So highlighting in some way or facilitating this relationship issue, fairness, balance, justice, diplomacy, if you're looking at it from the world aspect, right? And someone coming out, shining as a leader, or someone who is being looked at as bringing this fairness, balance, justice, renewal of a relationship. Yeah, that was what I missed. I knew I missed something. I don't know. It just, to me, seems like the value of partnership and diplomacy and fairness, equity, equality, balance, whatever, however you want to phrase it, is highlighted because of the moon in Leo. Again, Leo is celebrity and public figures too. Sun is ruling Libra, and that's leaders, people in the public eye. All right, yeah, Virgo moon. Virgo moon doesn't really make any aspects like that in conjunct or quincunx, whatever you want to call it, to Jupiter. Could be bringing up something from the past, resurrecting something in regard to all the Jupiter themes, foreign people, travel, airlines, the legal profession, lawyers, judges, institutions of higher learning, colleges, professors. Yeah, Jupiterian people, people who embody those types of qualities of Sagittarius and Jupiter, teachers, mentors, gurus, criticism maybe of those people. Also, legal and law enforcement and a lot of the court cases that are going on right now, and specifically looking quite closely under a microscope the organizations and the entities that are associated with law enforcement, military. So something can be coming up. But on a personal level, we may feel like, something regarding our beliefs or our sense of justice is just not quite feeling right. Virgo and the moon in Virgo, there can be a lot of like sense of dissatisfaction, uh, feeling slighted, and then being cranky about it. All right. Anyway, not all that much going on with the moon that day. I mean, we have the Venus Sun conjunction, it's still square Pluto, and that's all week long. It's like, wow, it's really setting up for what will come during Capricorn season when this sun reaches Pluto. 3 months time. So it's like, if you really center within yourself and say, where do I fit in this cycle? And what messages am I getting about all the Libra things I just mentioned before? Even taking Libra out of the equation, Pluto wants to end something. It's ending a way of life, a system, a hierarchy, power dynamics, how we look at power. Well, Pluto also has to do with plutonic, right? Plutonium. So it does make me think of war, bombs, right? Nuclear. So there's a lot of fear around that right now. And the need for diplomacy. So whatever it is, tapping in, what does this mean for me? What do I need to confront? How do I need to transform? What are my fears that I'm processing? So it can be looked at from that standpoint, right? And I'm going a little bit too long. Trying to get my timings right. Okay, so it is going to the moon in Virgo. Let's see. on the 21st, being Friday, and the one day. Watch what I mean about those cycles. Watch what happens on a 9-day and then how the energy shifts from the 9 to the 1. I guarantee you'll see what I'm talking about. Now I'm talking about Moon in Virgo. I mean, Virgo moon is very good for wrapping up details, doing practical things. Like this is just stuff like, I don't know, cleaning house, chop wood, carry water, the details, the analysis, being helpful, being of service, focusing on, the collective focus, as the moon could be regarding health, healthcare workers, people in the helping, serving profession, first responders. That's all covered by Virgo. And it will make a trine to Uranus. So, Uranus is bringing in the new ways of doing things, new resources, working towards the future. How can we make practical steps to support our health, support others in our close relationship sphere? Uranus is always inspirational. I love the aspects to Uranus because it creates such an ingenious sort of way of dealing with things that if we just look at the tried and true and what is already established, we would miss all of the ways that we could do things differently and do them better. Excuse me. What else? That's about it. In conjunct to, oh, okay, this is important to look at. This is a yod. So a yod is when you have a sextile between two planets and in conjunct, forming apex, through which, or into which, or from which, I would say, could be both, the planet at the apex, the focal point. So the moon in Virgo, sextiling the south node in Scorpio, is possibly releasing some kind of information, data, something that has been hidden behind, below the surface, perhaps, that we didn't know before. And it's coming from or funneling into Chiron. And that is, health, wounding, healing, releasing, transmuting, whether it's on an emotional or a physical level, can have to do with health, can be healing, diagnoses, point of origin of an illness. So interesting things could come up around that day on Friday, if it has to do with certain professions, certain things going on within the collective regarding health, wellness, well-being. You can apply all that however you want to. Chiron in Aries, Aries and Mars rules sharp objects. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. And the ruler of Chiron in Aries is Mars, and Mars has been squaring Neptune. And Neptune, we've been having to speak about and take action on and confront lies and deception and propaganda that occurred over all the last 2.5+ years. Apply it how you will. Anywho, as I was saying, sudden and unexpected could be a prominent female figure related to sudden and unexpected. Because I don't see peacefully here. I just don't see peacefully. Could be. I don't know. Mercury is starting to make a trine to Saturn. We're going to have that by the end of the weekend. I'm just going to start zipping through here. And okay, so the 22nd, Saturday the 22nd, it's a 2-day. Moon will oppose Neptune, giving us a chance to see the details that might have been missed before, complete the wrap up of the Mercury retrograde from when there was a lot coming out in Virgo, the details. I expect a lot of things to be unearthed, surfaced, information, facts, and receipts. Because the moon is also making a trine to Pluto that wants this death of that system there and the transformation, but we got to figure everything out about that system and why it wasn't working, that structure, before we can completely let it go. So there's a lot happening here with this waning moon in Virgo. And it's really pushing us to see the truth, because then moon in Virgo after that is going to oppose Jupiter. So then, it's going to bring up whatever was happening when every time Mercury opposed Jupiter and Venus opposed Jupiter and the sun opposed Jupiter. It's like, here it is. This is the truth. This is what you need to see, learn, higher perspective, Jupiter, beliefs, all of that. A lot of legal stuff, a lot of political stuff. A lot of things are going to be exposed during this week. I mean, we have that every week, but like, God, it's going to be crazy, especially because Mars is also slowing down in Gemini. Mars was really like the action and the information and the rhetoric and the words and the fighting back and forth and attacking and really pursuing to bust this illusion of Neptune in Pisces. Remember, we're wrapping up the Piscean age, and my opinion, we're in the Aquarian age, but because it's such a long cycle, we see the glimmers of the new thing while we're still dealing with the stuff from the old system. It's just the way it is. I mean, that's also part of this Saturn square Uranus, the new and the old, push pull, testing of the new system, and then going back and tweaking it, right? So the 22nd, Mercury is making a trine to Saturn. Again, testing the structure, testing integrity, our own integrity. Saturn is about to go direct on the 23rd. So there's so much here that we need to see. We need to get it before we move on, graduate to the next level. And a lot of, dealing with a lot of anger and frustration and aggression that has been really, really building up. And so Mars making an inconjunct to Pluto, I could see somebody or, in some way crossing a line at that point, not respecting a boundary or just saying, fuck it, you know, your system, your rules, it just doesn't make sense. I'm just not going to, I disagree. And therefore, by my actions and my words, I'm just going to continue to do what I need to do. And there will be actions taken at this time, and there will be words said during this whole time that some people may have to go back and eat them when Mars goes retrograde. Mars goes retrograde on the 30th. Saturn goes direct on the 23rd. But we're going to get a really big idea of where things are at and where they're going with the new structure, with the new restrictions or the level of restriction, because Saturn is putting a lot of restriction on groups, on collectives, on anything Aquarian related, right? It's trying to build this new Aquarian structure, but it's a push and pull between what we have, the top-down structure type situation that we have now, like this hierarchy and the way society is run and who gets to run it. There's this push and pull back and forth between those who want to keep their Saturnian power and those who want to have a more shared power structure. I've always felt like we should be voting on topics and we should all be able to do it online in real time, like a, town hall on a national level. But we really are actually doing that. I think Saturn in Aquarius has shown us where the court of public opinion matters. There have been corporations that have reversed their decisions because there's been such public backlash. So I see the pendulum starting to swing in the other direction. We've gone from like total restriction, totalitarianism, and a certain way of handling, let's say, even social media and the internet and the use of technology. Things are about to shift in the other direction. I think we're going to see it towards the end of this week. Something, whatever it is that happens this week, there's a reaction to it, and we start to see the way the tide is shifting. I'm just going to sum it up like that. So Saturday, Virgo moon goes into Libra later in the day. It's going to oppose Jupiter. What else we got going on here? Yeah, there's definitely aggravation, impatience, and that Mars in Gemini being restless, a little ADD, ADHD, and the Pluto aspect is really maybe wanting to control some things, but not going about it the right way. The actions are not, because Mars has been dealing with Neptune and not being able to really get a firm footing. It might be kind of like, all right, well, enough of these diplomatic channels. Somebody's going to overstep their bounds here. Somebody's about had it. Somebody's about had it, and the Sun and Venus are going to go into Scorpio, and that is the gloves are off. Things will get nasty in Scorpio, and we had that eclipse. This is, remember, this is all leading up to the eclipse, which is the 25th. So that's like Tuesday of next week. Crazy days and nights. Good blog, by the way. Crazy Days and Nights. Entertainment Liar. Loves me some dirt. All right. Where are we now? So we're at the 23rd. We've got the moon is going to oppose Chiron. In conjunct. Oh, Sun. That's when the Sun and Venus go into Scorpio, and in conjunct Jupiter. And this is like the secrets and follow the money. Somebody's hidden resources. You know, I'm not gonna get into it. I was gonna speculate. I'm just gonna talk about the aspects. I'm not gonna talk about anything else. Ugh, this will be uncomfortable. Whatever it is that comes up, the truth, Jupiter, it will be either dark, seedy, taboo, craziness, secrets. This sounds awesome. I love Scorpio season for that reason, because Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio, rules investigations, research, true crime, looking at the dark part of the human psyche. What's going on? I can't wait. All right. There's something that's going to come out, though. I mean, the moon is going to oppose Jupiter before that, and it's going to oppose Chiron. It will be painful and devastating to someone because they don't want their secrets coming out. Or on some emotional level, having to face the wound, whatever that is. All right. What else we got going on that day? Oh, so the moon is going to make it in conjunct to Juno. Juno is the asteroid of partnership, the wife it represents. But Juno was married to Jupiter, who was not faithful and had many kids by many other women. But she stayed with him because she was the good wife. She was the wife. So in Pisces, I think we could say that this is looking at the type of partnership that would be martyrdom, where someone is choosing to be a victim or choosing not to see their victimhood. This could be over spiritualization of partnership and relationship. Like, I have to stay with them because they're my whatever, my spouse, and till death do us part. Or it can be being addicted to partnerships and marriage and the idea of this like ideal, because Pisces is an idealistic sign. A Piscean relationship is we're soulmates. I don't care that they're spending all of our grocery money on drugs. I love them, and they're fated artist type, and we're just, destined to be together, all of that kind of stuff. That's the shadow, I would say, of Juno and Pisces. But the moon in conjunct here is just looking at like, okay, what's the realistic balance here? What are you not seeing? You don't want to see it. It's not fair. How's it affecting you? Or just maybe looking at partnership in a different way. If we look at Juno as far as just committing to things, it could be any type of committed relationship, I suppose. All right, so that's Sunday the 23rd, and that's a 3. I should end it there, but I will go to the next Monday just to look and see. We've got the moon. This is the dark of the moon before the eclipse happens. So everything that's happening leading up to the eclipse is faded. We're going through some really faded stuff right now. And we've got the moon will conjunct Mercury, some kind of news, ideas, communications being shared. Probably a lot of talk about diplomacy or foreign international relations over the whole weekend. That will be going on. And the moon and Venus squaring Pluto had made a decision. Some kind of decision had been reached during the course of the week. And now Venus and the sun are kind of like, I see that as like two people, male and female, possibly, but it's our identity, our life force, and Venus, our values, the way we attract and manifest in that manner, resources. And in Scorpio, it's hidden. It's hidden. So it is maybe going after other people's resources, hitting someone where it hurts on the bottom line. Interesting. So a lot of things happen in the dark of the moon. I noticed that when there's like really intense things going on, a lot of times it's what's done in the dark of the moon that triggers the issue with the new moon. So pay attention to that. Like, what's going on within your relationships and your dynamics? What are you discussing? Are you talking about balance of give and take, of resources, of mine and yours, of what is ours? What do we have versus what we owe? Divvying up of resources. In terms of divorce, I was looking at the Mercury, Sun opposite Jupiter, and Mercury and Venus opposite Jupiter. It all looked like, if it wasn't a coming together and negotiating of a relationship, it was the negotiation of an ending of a relationship. So it doesn't matter. Marriage, divorce, alliances, when it comes to politics, international politics, there is a shifting of alliances here, forming of new partnerships on the basis of resources too. We're splitting up and, divvying up the spoils, even in corporations and stuff like that. But really, the point is to align more deeply with our own values and people who share the same values. There's a lot of that going on. And with Scorpio, it gets very deep, especially now we're going to have the eclipse. This is like Monday, Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Ooh, that's a 5-day. Monday's a 4-day. So also action, words and action. You know, with Mars in Gemini, it's for me and squaring Neptune, it's been about what are the words that are being said and what are the actions that are being taken, and are they in alignment? Do your words match your actions? Do your values match your words and your actions? There's a lot of that being evaluated, and we can observe very carefully where people stand, especially right now, because their actions and their words are giving them away. They're giving away what would normally be hidden by that Neptune, or where we could project onto the Neptune what we, are through our rose-colored glasses of only seeing what we want to see, believing what we want to believe, projecting. So Mercury is going to make an inconjunct, and so is the moon, to that Neptune. So watch what's going on during this time. Listen and observe. The wise thing to do is don't speak unless you have all the facts, or unless you have to. It's better to just watch and listen right now. At least until after the new moon, if you have to start anything big. We don't usually recommend starting things voluntarily. I mean, things start. The new moon starts things. Things start. You can't help it. But if you are planning something that you have control over, starting it on the eclipses is not usually recommended, because eclipse energy is so unpredictable. We just don't know. So because it is a fated energy, it's something that is perceived more of coming from outside of ourselves, from outside of our control. It largely is. The free will that we have is how we can respond to it, what we choose to do in response to what information we've been given, or what we observe, or what we need. Anyway, so really big starts, things that you can put off if you can, if you can put it off. It's kind of it's good to let that energy kind of pass, because you just want to see like where things sort out after the dust settles, quite honestly. So, major financial decisions, moving resources around, especially when we're talking about Scorpio, because that has to do with the market and investments. So this will be a volatile time. It's a volatile time. Like if you're investing in the market, you don't know where the bottom is. We're getting there to a relative bottom, but it almost feels like it's been bottoming out for the last couple of weeks, right? It's just weird. So hesitancy, caution, because what you think could be the bottom could be the top in relation to a new bottom. So just keeping those things in mind, and that we are in eclipses, and it's just a crazy stressful time on a personal level. this week is a week to just kind of draw inward because the moon is waning, not to expend too much energy because the Mars square to Neptune is dissolution of energy, drive and life force. Mars signifies our energy levels, and with Neptune, I know, like, I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm very busy, but I am working when I feel I have the energy and resting when I feel I don't. So, I really feel like I haven't had as much energy. I felt more tired. So, pacing yourself, because pushing yourself can run down your immune system. You feel tired, you're worn down, you get sick more easily, right? Or if you're pushing yourself and you're under a lot of pressure, it could cause you to pop off and say something, get angry with people, frustration. I know I had a little bit of that this week. So make sure that you're kind to people and realize that we're all going through something, and just not to take it out on other people, and resist the urge to go into hopelessness and feeling like there's no hope, because things can seem really dire. Things will seem really dire this week, I'm not gonna lie. But I think when we go through times like this where our life is on edge and we seem like we're on the precipice of just like losing it and everything's going to collapse and fall apart. For me, I like to come down to, like, okay, where am I at right now? What am I afraid of? What can I do about the situation? Am I safe? Am I healthy? I'm still here in a body. I'm not dying. Like, I always look at it like, all right, it's a crisis, but is it life threatening? If it's life threatening, then, you got to deal with it. But to live in fear and this constant state of PTSD, which I think a lot of people are in, long-term PTSD, after effect, the after effects of everything we've been through. I don't have to say it. Last 2 years. We have been given an opportunity to face our fears and to transmute them. And that's the shadow work. Looking at our shadow, not just our fears, but like the ugly things that we don't want to confront, the things about ourselves that we don't want to confront, the things that we want to forget from our past, that we are afraid of how they've affected us, or coming back to haunt us, or being exposed, or just fears of not having control over the situation and being constantly bombarded by the media of, the world is about to end, nuclear war, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times things don't play out as terrible as we catastrophize them to be. But we have to confront our own inner demons, confronting all the stuff that comes up when faced with, what is really the root, the Pluto Scorpio root of our shadow, which is really the fear of death. Everything comes down to the fear of death. So looking at death issues and faith and our own spirituality and how we come to terms with the idea of death, or I mean, if we're dealing with scorpionic themes, we're also dealing with, at this time of year, Halloween, where we go into that season where we really ritualize confronting death and the shadow realm and what's on the other side, the paranormal. This is a season right here where all kinds of crazy stuff usually comes up. Most of my paranormal experiences happen, a lot of them during this time of year. And so it really involves a lot of the shadow work of facing the fears of what is on the other side, and the fear of death and losing the physical body, right? Or the fear of losing physical resources. And the transformation and the transmutation comes from realizing I'm not a physical body. I'm a spirit, I'm a consciousness, I'm a soul, I'm inhabiting a physical body, but that is not who and what I am. So all of those things. I guess we'll be talking about the eclipse next week. Not this week, not in this week's edition. But there are some things I want to talk about. I'll talk about it a little bit when I go into the asteroids. I spent too much time, in my opinion, on the weekly right now. And I am going to end this part of it and wrap up the weekly, and then go on to discussing whatever asteroids and whatever I feel like discussing in the next part. So hang on, stay tuned for just a second.